COVID-19 outbreaks. Yes, I said current COVID-19 outbreaks. Unfortunately, don't think that we're out of this mess yet. I think we probably have at least another good, I don't know, nobody really knows, but at least another good probably 4 or 5 years of what's going to happen with this before we actually really know. But in all of the writings, there's a part of the major story that was missing, and that was why. What compels our fellow Americans, now I'm talking about the traveling nurses and that, to travel halfway around the country to put their lives in danger working on these patients who were definitely in deep peril? How do you explain their actions? It certainly wasn't for the money, because they weren't getting paid that much, and it wasn't to pad their resumes. This week's gospel offers us the answer. The love of Christ called them to where they were needed the most. There was a need for where they went, and they put down everything to go and help those that were in peril. Subsequent cases of the COVID-19 have come among the medical professionals who accepted the risk of contamination of themselves and served strangers that were suffering in deep peril. Some of these medical professions did pass away. Some got very sick. Some carried the disease to their loved ones and made them sick, who eventually passed away. So they definitely paid the price. Whether they were professing Christians or not, doesn't really matter. Their conduct clearly was Christ-like. As Pastor said many times, today's is considered All Saints Sunday. It is the first Sunday after Halloween, where we pay tribute to and honor all of those who have passed before us. Now, I'm not going to stand here and name all the names that passed the name, because I guarantee you I couldn't remember them, and definitely we're going to forget somebody who we never even thought about. In our hearts, we all know who they were, whether they're suffering from the war in Palestine and Israel right now, or suffering from the problems that Russia and Iraq is having. I mean, there are perils on both sides of people that are suffering, that need our prayers. So after service today, you can just say a quiet prayer to yourself and pray for all of those people that were suffering. And right now, just let's bow our heads in a quick, short prayer. Dear Lord, as we continue this day, all of us who have servant hearts, dear Lord, who have gone before us, please be with them, help them, guide them in their glory, dear Lord. They have received their just deserves for all of their labor. Be with them this day until we meet again. In Jesus' name I pray. As we are fast approaching our 250th anniversary, which won't be too far away, it actually begins the beginning of January, and there are things going on throughout the whole year that will be going on. But there are many individuals who had a servant-like heart that we need to honor, remember, and recognize during the year. From a Jonathan Bunn, who started us, all the way through Jerry and Ginny Rao and Ginny Burrows, who definitely had servant-like hearts and continued to serve this church and this community for a long time. All of them did. They were all faithful Christians and had servant hearts. God gives us the roadmap for a servant heart, the Bible, and can guide us along the path if you read the Bible and study the Bible. But for me, I need more. There's an old saying, if you haven't heard it, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And my God, isn't that true? You can tell somebody all about it, but you can't force them. You can't force them to do something that you want them to do. I feel sometimes that I should have been born in Missouri, lovingly known as the Show Me State, because I like to be shown things. I like to follow. Sometimes I need to be led, and Lord knows the Lord did a good job of that. He did a good job of leading in the Bible. But still, I need more. I need someone closer. I need someone that I can follow, someone that I can look after who is right here ahead of me. For me, and probably for many of us, that was my parents. Talk about servant hearts. My mother and father would give you the shirt off of their back if you needed it. There was so much I learned from my parents over the years and from other friends. I also learned that you should not expect to get paid or even get praise for everything that you do. So don't look for it, because sometimes you just may not get it. And if you're looking to do it to get paid or for praise, then maybe you shouldn't have been doing it in the first place. It's one of the main reasons why I became an EMT, which stands for Emergency Medical Technician, and served for 30 years riding the ambulance and teaching at the Pennington First Aid Squad. I also learned from so many friends and other family members. There's a story I have. There was an old farmer. I'm an old farm boy in Pennington. His name was Hans Hansen, good friend of the family. My mom went out every morning and bought the newspaper. She brought the Trentonian. She didn't like the Trenton Times because it was just too big. She couldn't open it up and sit and read it. So every day he came up to the house. Now, mom and grandma would probably be upstairs dusting or changing the beds or doing some kind of housework. He'd come up, read the paper, get himself a glass of water, sit down and read the paper, and then go home. And then call her up on the telephone and said that I was up and read your paper and had a glass of water, which was kind of funny. But at any rate, he definitely had a servant heart. After I graduated high school, I still did not know how to swim. And that's another whole nother sermon, which I'm not getting into today. So my mother entered me in one last ditch swimming class where I did finally learn how to swim at the prep school. But by that time, she was working. So she could not take me to the classes, so I was going to have to walk. Well, Hans Hansen, he stepped up and says, well, I'll take him to the class. So he took me to class, dropped me off, and then came back and got me when the class was over. Mom was really opposed to this, mom and dad. But he said to them, what is the point of having friends if you can't use them once in a while? And that's the God's honest truth, something that I have tried to do and to look for every now and then. If you find, they say a friend in need is a friend indeed. So if you have a friend that's in need, by all means, help them out or let them help you out. In defining greatness as servanthood, Jesus turns the whole social order on its head. The first become last, and the last become first. Reflecting on this revelation at the heart of Christianity, Henry Nouwen writes, our God is a serving God. We are liberated by someone who became powerless. We are strengthened by someone who became weak. We find a leader in someone who became a servant. This is not rocket science. It's that simple. To follow Jesus, to become a Christian, is to become a servant. Unlike the proud priests and Pharisees from our gospel lesson today, becoming a true servant means purging ourselves of vanity, resentments, jealousies, all the self-centered junk that crowds out peace and excludes serenity. God will send no one away empty, except those who have remained so full of themselves that they leave no room for grace. To have a servant's heart is to have a heart rich to overflowing, rich in grace, rich in hope, rich in the love of Jesus Christ. A servant's heart, a happy heart, is what I pray for you, for me, for all of God's beloved. It is the closest thing we'll have to heaven on earth. And in closing, I would just like to say, when you look up here today, you don't see me. I am not here. You see the love of God in me. Thank you. And now please join Roger in leading us in our hymn of response, Lord, whose love through humble service.